Let's go ahead and
No.
get started. Let me put in the. All right, let's go ahead and see what we are going to be doing today. Let me put up the streaming links. All right, so today we are going to look at jQuery. But before we look into jQuery, we are going to look at some of the concepts that you might have done it or you might not have, but we'll look at it again. So the PowerPoint thing, I already told you guys, now I'm switching away from PowerPoint. I think this week might be next week, but slowly you will see I'm kind of switching away. I'll show you more coding and I'll be doing more live coding and all that stuff. Okay. So let's go back and see. All right. So the first thing is that we're going to look at is the DOM. Document Object Model. Okay. So what is DOM? DOM is simply your representation of HTML in memory. Okay. Again, DOM is your HTML that gets loaded into the memory. So when your JavaScript engine, when your browser renders your HTML, it kind of brings that HTML that you have written into memory. Okay. Now, when I say brings it into memory, Michael, what do you think in JavaScript? What am I talking about when I say it brings it into memory?
It brings it into the memory of into the RAM.
Into the RAM, yeah. But from JavaScript, remember the first day we saw when I talk about memory, what part of JavaScript am I talking from the concept wise? What do you use to store some data? In the what?
In the cache.
In the cache, yeah. But from the JavaScript perspective, how do I store if I'm trying to store something? Oh, you got it. Thank you. If I'm trying to store some data, right? Let's suppose I want to store my name. How would I store that?
I would assign it to a variable.
Yes, exactly. So Michael is saying you will assign it to a variable. Okay, and that's the memory part. Remember I was saying when you create a variable, what do? You label it, you create a variable and then assign something to it. And then this is basically a piece of the memory that's going to store. When you refresh your page and everything goes away. Why? Because it's memory, it's temporary, right? It's not a database, it's not like a hard storage, so it goes away. Now going back, what did I say? The document object model DOM is a representation of your HTML in memory. So this means that your DOM is your HTML is being stored in a variable. Okay? Ali, what do you think is the name of the variable? The name of the variable where your DOM gets stored.
Okay.
Document. The variable name is document. You guys see the connection now? Slowly getting to it. So the variable document that we have been using is where your HTML gets stored. Okay? John, what do you think is the data type of this document? Huh?
It's gotta be an object.
It is an object. Excellent. Yeah, you got it. So the variable name is document and the data type is object. And that's what DOM is. Just a representation of your HTML, right? And the variable that JavaScript gives us is the document variable and the type is object. So what does this mean? That's why you have all those methods. You see document dot keyup, right? Document dot what else was it? Get element by ID or something, right? All of these are methods on the object document, and that's what DOM is. That's simply what DOM is. Okay. Now the DOM is different from the HTML that you write, and I'll show you what it means. DOM is the final HTML that is there. Right? You have some JavaScript code. You are going to put in some HTML from JavaScript. All right, we'll take a look at what I mean. From your JavaScript code, you're going to change your HTML files. Okay, but in your HTML file, you're not putting anything. You have a basic HTML, right, and that's it. But in your DOM has your final HTML. It goes through it. Any JavaScript that you're adding, anything you're adding, that's the final copy. That's what DOM is. Okay, I'll show you an example really quick and this will make sense. But again, going back to this, document object model, this is what it is. It's a representation of HTML in memory. That's what DOM is. Okay? Now let me show you what I mean. So I have a index.html over here. Okay. Okay, just a template. I'm going to create a empty div here. And let me go ahead and give this an ID. Okay, let's go ahead and run this. It shows up here. Let's make sure in the inspect. Now I'm in the elements tag. I'm going to open body and I see this empty tag. Okay. Spoiler alert. This thing that you see in your Chrome browser, this is the DOM. This is not the actual HTML that you have written. This is actually the DOM. What it means is anything it has finally rendered, read everything, whatever it had to insert, that's what you see over here. And that's the reason that it is so easy to manipulate, that you can change stuff over here and all that stuff, because this is everything in memory. The code that you see over here, this is the DOM. This is the HTML that gets loaded in memory. And that's why you can change all the stuff over here, and it changes as soon as you refreshes it. What happens? It goes away from the memory, reloads it, everything comes back. Okay? Still not clear. You still don't see the difference. I have empty div here, I have empty div here, there's no difference over here. Okay? Now let me go to my JavaScript file and add something. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is, let me go back here. Let me add my script file. Okay, source DOM. Okay. So document dot, let's look at this and get element by ID, and I'm going to put in get element ID. Okay. Let me store this in a variable. I'm going to console log this first so that we can see what's happening. Empty div. Okay, so document. I told you guys what is document. Document is where all the rendered HTML is in memory. That's the variable that JavaScript gives us. And document has a function called get element by ID. Function name kind of tells you what it is doing. Element meaning HTML element, so it's going to go and find the HTML element that has this ID. Okay, and what is this element? It's going to be this div. Okay. Now it should console log something, and I get a null. Okay. So why do I get a null? So I have this HTML. Oh, IDs don't match. Let me copy paste it. I want it to match. What is it called? No? Empty div. Okay. All right. Still no. I can refresh it.
Console logs empty div isn't right.
Why is it not right? What's wrong?
It doesn't match. There's no.
I'm console logging
Oh,
this variable.
Is that because you don't have anything in the div?
What is it?
You don't have anything in the div on the HTML that's not console logging?
Well, you shouldn't say no. I'm just getting this element, so it should still say something. If something is wrong in the HTML file. What is it? What did you say, Dante? Right, okay. Yeah, JavaScript is there, but the problem is it's in the wrong place. So remember what I told you? How does HTML works? Passes this line, it comes to this, goes back, it starts running this code, and then comes back and then goes to the body. So by the time it comes here, I have already run this script file. So what do I have to do? Put it in the bottom. You see in the use case now? This is one of those situations where you want this to be at the end. And there it is. This is what I get when I do a console log. Okay? So from memory, it went ahead, it found this piece of ID and found the element that is attached to this, and I'm console logging, so it just outputs this div ID empty. Okay, so this is one of the methods that you can pull out different things, different elements from the HTML part. Now still your HTML is exactly the same that you have written. So let's go ahead and modify this HTML from here. So if I do empty div dot text content, this div is being populated from JavaScript. Okay. Let's look at the web page first. You see what happened over here? On my web page, I see this title or this text over on my browser, right? From a HTML, do I have this? I don't have this, right? It's an empty div tag. But from a JavaScript, I can manipulate this and then change my contents. Now look at the inspect and look at the elements. You see this element is over here, and that's what the DOM part I was saying, right? It is not the HTML that you have written in your .html file or something. It's the final HTML that gets added up, everything that when it runs, it's add to JavaScript, jQuery, or whatever library you're using. This is the final one. And how is this the final one? Because this is in memory, right? This is the DOM. Yes.
So if we put like an alert in the script, would it
Between
empty until you put the alert?
Between the console log and this thing?
On the
This thing?
actually, yeah. Like
Over
if
here?
If we asked it to do something before it ran the script, would we see the DOM change?
So put an alert over here, you were saying?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, it kind of stops. It should stop, or let's make sure. So you see, it kind of stopped over there until loads it and then shows up. Okay. Anyway, so this is the real DOM. This is so anything that you see in your inspect and your thing. Chrome is actually showing you the DOM. It's not showing the actual HTML that you have loaded. It is actually showing you this variable. That's what it does. Okay. And that is what DOM is. So DOM, as I said, what is it? It's an HTML that is loaded into your memory, and this is what allows us to from a JavaScript file to modify our HTML file kind of on runtime, right? It's a very, very powerful tool to have. We can now change our whole web page just from our JavaScript file. You don't even have to have anything in your index.html. Everything you can do it from here. All right. We'll see some use cases why you would be doing that. And this is the action part that JavaScript adds. You'll be having some use cases on your screen. I will do some exercises that you want to change your screen based on some action. Or you want to change a number, right? Maybe you have a site where you click and the number changes how many times it has clicked. All right, there's some action. So what you would do is from your JavaScript, you will increment and then you will tell your HTML to kind of show up the new number. That's a simple use. We'll see some more exercises. But that's what DOM is, right? In JavaScript, using this thing allows us to modify any HTML that is loaded in memory. Okay? And this comes built in. The document, the DOM, this document variable, it is built in. It's an object. It has a lot of properties. You can Google document JavaScript. You can look at W3 schools. It has a lot of functions. I'll show you some basic ones to get you started. Most of the time, those are the common ones. And then we'll jump into jQuery and see how jQuery kind of simplifies some of this stuff. Okay. Let me show you quickly some of the other ones. So we are getting, what about creating an element? So it is document dot create element. So create element tells you that it can create an element, and by element it means your HTML elements. You can create an element and then attach it to something. Let me call this new h1. Okay, so at this point it created an element, but it's kind of like the orphan element. It's not attached to anything right now, right? It doesn't know where to place it, so you have to tell JavaScript where to attach this. So before that, I'm going to put some text so that you guys can see it. Dot text content. This is from JavaScript. Let's go ahead and put it inside our empty div. So it's going to be a child of this. So I'm going to say empty div dot append child and new h1. Okay, and there it is. Okay, now look at the DOM, look at the HTML that's getting rendered. It puts it inside it. Okay. Similarly, you can set your CSS also from here. Let's go ahead and add some. Let me add some CSS here. Okay. Oh, I already have. So I already put in some CSS, simple CSS, font size and color. It's already in my CSS now. Let me show you how would you add it in your JavaScript. So I'm going to attach it to this h1. Let's go ahead and attach it to this h1. So I'm going to say new h1 dot. Now CSS. If I do class is equal to fancy, what is this class? What is it called? No, this class over. Did somebody say array? No, this is CSS. Style. What else? What are all of these? ID. Attributes. Excellent. Yes. So these are all attributes. So the function is set attribute. So I'm going to say dot set attribute, and then what am I trying to set? I'm trying to set a class, and I wanted to set it to fancy. That's my CSS class, and this is how it comes out. Okay, and you see in your DOM, or it added this class as fancy. Similarly, you can add ID, name, any attribute that you want. Simply change this and add it over there. Let's see, what else do I have? Okay.
So where does it get the properties? I mean, like, you know, the font, the color, and all that. Where does that come from?
I added this style.css. I have this style.css, and it's added in my index. This thing. So it's picking up from here.
So you can just style it all there.
Style it all there. Yep, totally you can. Okay, so this is how you manipulate the DOM. There are a lot more functions if you look at some of the documentation, but these are the basic one that you would be mostly using. So I don't want to get more complicated into this because we'll look at jQuery, and jQuery kind of provides a lot of methods wrapped around. We'll see in a bit. But let's do, you guys give it a try with the next exercise. It's just using these. Let's see if there's any extra one. Okay, let's see what this exercise says. Right. So you will be given a starting file, and they will slide it out. Download that file. You will need a for loop inside your loop. Okay, so these are the methods that you're going to look at: create element, text element, and append child. And I've shown you all three of these. So this should be familiar. The only thing is the for loop. So kind of see what it takes. So you are, what is drink list? What is the data type of this? This is JavaScript now. What is drink list, Reggie?
It's an array.
It's an array. Excellent. It's an array. So you have to loop through this array, and looks like it's saying grab the div tag with the matching ID. So if you scroll up and look at the HTML, there is a div with this ID. Okay, so how do we grab it? Get element by ID. Excellent. So grab that, and then create a for loop that creates an HTML content of all the drinks. So you have to, why do we need a for loop? Because you want to loop through this array and keep creating more divs. Okay, and how do you create the div? Create element. All right, use the text content to output these. Okay, take few minutes to give it a try, and then I'll start coding this in maybe like 5 or 6 minutes. Yes, you have a question?
Well, my console log is, I pressed something and it's not jacked up. So, like for what we just coded, have everything on there just like a picture.
What is it? Okay.
Just like what we just did.
Okay. Let's show me a console.
My console.
Okay, let's go back to your code. So you have so you have one .html. How have you defined your script tag? Where does the source at? Inside, right? Let me open this file. Create code that grabs the div with the matching ID. Okay. Skellen pointed out, get element by ID. So let's go ahead and call it drink div document dot get element by ID. What is the ID drink options? So I'm going to test it out. So I'm going to console log this to make sure I'm getting the right div. Okay, so I'm getting the right one. Create a for loop that creates HTML content of all the drinks using JavaScript. Create element text content append child. Is everybody okay with writing the for loop now? It's still kind of iffy about it. Still iffy? All right. Since you are iffy, Laura, tell me how do I begin? Well, it's a mispractice. How do I begin?
For.
So what is the for loop for, first of all? Why do I need a for loop? Exactly. Okay, excellent. And then you said for. Okay. Just like if I have a condition, right? So I need parentheses for the condition. And then I need these parentheses so I can write my code inside it. Right? Okay, excellent. So now I'm looping through this. So I want to loop through my first to the last. Okay, from my first thing to the last one. Right, so what's the first thing you would do? So I'm going to create, you need a, I need a variable declaration. All right, so I'm going to say 0. What happened?
You said to use the or I.
For I? Oh, this the name of the variable? What is it? What is she saying?
I said I is for intoxicated.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. All right, so what's going to be the second? So where do I want to stop? The first one is where I want to begin. I want to begin from the 0th index. And the second condition is, how long do I want to keep it running? Right? What's my condition that I want to make sure it keeps running until this is met? Right. So less than drink list dot length. Okay. So this condition, what is this condition saying, Laura? That as long as this I is less than the length, keep running, keep running. Yep. And then the last one says incremented, like increase after the first time. All right, so next thing I want to create the element. So I'm going to say var new drink. I'm going to create a P element. So I'm going to say document dot create element P. Okay, so this will create a new P element. All right, new paragraph. And for each one, I want the drink contents to be added to this P1, right? So I'm going to drink dot text content is equal to, and how do I access my array? Drink list and then I in square brackets. Excellent. This should give me each one of these. Okay. Let's see. I still don't see it over here. What am I missing? I have not. I have not what? The HTML is there. It's the unsolved one that you guys are working on. So I shouldn't be doing anything. It says what? 946. Okay. I didn't get it. What's the error, Ali? I need to append it. Excellent. So I've created it. I've added the text, but I haven't told where this element goes. It's kind of like the orphan element right now. So I need to add this, and I'm going to add this in my drink div that I created on the top, right? This one in the first step, and I'm going to use append. Use append child. I'm going to add these. Okay. For y is equal to this drink list dot length. Okay, so this should be do I have everything? Let's run this. It's not running, it's still not running. Oh, there it is. I just had to refresh it. Yes. Okay, so this is how I get my. Let's see. This is how I using the for loop. Okay, any questions on this? Did everybody? How far did everybody do number 1? Number 2? Okay, most. Okay, but you didn't do it before. You did number 1. So what's is it the for loop that was a little bit more confusing? I understand it kind of takes a little bit practice to do these things. And how do you get used to it? Doing it more and more. Yeah. That's what I said on Slack. I kind of get an idea. You know, guys, do go back and do exercises. I don't mind answering any questions, but it's not just this cohort. Previous also, what I get questions mostly is, oh, this is the homework. I'm kind of stuck over here. I will give you a secret. The activities, they are kind of trended from homework. If you do especially the end exercises, they are kind of solved version of your homework. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's look at the next topic. The next topic is jQuery. How do I do the same thing in jQuery? All right. So first of all, before I talk about jQuery, what jQuery is, I'm going to instill some biasness. All right. So the first question when I get introduced to a new technology, I usually ask, well, is it relevant, right? In 2019, I would say jQuery is not as relevant as it used to be, all right? But this doesn't mean that we shouldn't learn jQuery. jQuery still has a place. When I say jQuery doesn't have a place, what I mean is when you're doing a greenfield project. Again, greenfield project means something that you're starting from scratch. So you're trying to come up with a website, you're trying to do some web development for a company or yourself. You would not use jQuery today in 2019. Why? Because there are other libraries such as React.js, other frameworks such as AngularJS, Vue.js, and all this kind of cool new technologies and frameworks available. So you're going to use those, right? But why jQuery? It's still, if you're working at a company and they have a website, a little bit older website, chances are they're using jQuery. I will tell you, most of the companies that have older websites, they are using jQuery. And jQuery is not like it has they never update their code or anything. You will see jQuery has a team, and their team keeps updating that code. It's still relevant. It still works. They have latest versions. They have included more stuff in it. The only thing is, it's still there are more popular libraries today. Okay, so jQuery. For example, today, the code that you write, you're going to write in most probably React.js, right? 10 years from now, people who are debugging your code are going to look back and be like, oh, yeah, React.js was really popular back like 10, 15 years ago. So still somebody has to go and fix it. This is the same situation with jQuery in today's world. It was written few years ago. It has been upgraded, and they are very good about it. It's not like an older version and nobody takes care of it. It's taken care. The only thing is kind of dropped in popularity. So if you're doing a new project, you will not use jQuery. Okay. The other reason to learn jQuery is I already told you you might have to debug some old code, and it will be in jQuery. You're like, whoa, what is this? What is the dollar sign? So it will kind of give you a head start for that. And the other reason is it's a little bit easier library to understand. It will give you insight how do we use third-party libraries in JavaScript. We saw in CSS, right? We saw Bootstrap, HTML. So we begin with jQuery and see how a library is being used. It's relatively easier once we get into more complicated ones. So it'll be more trickier to set those up, right? So that's why we're going to look at jQuery. Now I'm going to show you some brief concepts. You guys give it a try. Again, I'm going to just touch the surface. It has a lot more functionality. To be honest, I haven't gone as deep in jQuery. I know the basic stuff. I can look at the code and understand what's going on. So that's what I'm going to teach, and you guys kind of still stay on the surface. If anybody is curious, they have a really good documentation. Every function, method, property is documented. Okay? All right. That was my rant about jQuery, and now I'll show you what jQuery is. All right? So jQuery at its core is a library. What do I mean by whenever you hear the word library, it should tell you that somebody has gone ahead and written code on top of some other code. All right. So what is this other code in this perspective? This code is JavaScript, and the jQuery team has written a new kind of language or a library that resides on top of JavaScript. Why they have done that? They have done that because there are, when you go into DOM manipulation, JavaScript is a little bit complicated. You have to kind of find out how to do something. jQuery, by writing a library on top of JavaScript, makes it easier to do the same thing. All right, we'll see some of the code. All right, but again, it's a library. You can open it. It's open source. Every code, you can look at the jQuery code. You will see it's all JavaScript. All right? Yes. Right.
Isn't jQuery a stored function?
Is what?
Stored function.
Stored functions. What do you mean is stored functions? I'm not
So
sure.
it's function is just like a name of code, and then behind it there's a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of code
Yes.
that's already written.
Right. So what Randy is saying, jQuery is function, and that is what a library is. You write a library on top of something, and how do you write in this case? It's functions, right? jQuery writes functions, and they expose these functions, and you call those jQuery functions, but behind the scene they are calling some JavaScript code. Yeah. So basically, it is a bunch of functions and properties, basically. Yeah. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get our jQuery from the CDN. So let's go ahead and see. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get our jQuery CDN. So just Google jQuery CDN, and this should be the code. Okay, let's get the minified version. Let's get this one. Okay, so I did my this thing, and the next thing I'm going to add is my own JS file. So it is, let's format this, and let's go ahead and add the same div tag that we were using in the previous example. Give it an ID, call it empty div. Alright, so let's go ahead and run this to make sure I have this running without any errors. Okay, let's look at the console to make sure there are no errors. All right, looks good. All right, again, does the browser recognize jQuery? It doesn't. It doesn't know jQuery, what jQuery is, right? From the browser perspective, you see what am I doing? I'm adding just another JS file. All right, you see the extension? It is code.jQuery whatever .main.js. It's just another JS file. All right, you see this is my JS file, and this is some other third-party library which is jQuery that I'm using. All right, that's what it is. Order matters. If I put mine first, what's going to happen? It's not going to recognize the jQuery function that I'm using. Okay, let's take a look what those are. So, so jQuery starts with the $sign. Okay, dollar and parentheses, and that's how the syntax of jQuery is. Again, it's a new syntax. You have to remember one more extra thing. I get that. But just try to understand what it is and how do we use it. It will kind of become familiar. Most of the time, I would look at the documentation and try to just copy paste and see how it is working. But for now, I will show you. So dollar, every time you see a dollar parentheses, this should give you an indication that the jQuery is being used. Okay, that's the syntax for jQuery, and that's how they have it. So let's suppose I want to find an element, an ID that I just added. So my ID is this thing. How do I do this? Remember in JavaScript I was doing get element by ID and all that stuff. In jQuery, within these parentheses, I could just mention this ID with a hash, with a star, or with a hash. Now what is this hash? You guys remember this hash and ID? It's from CSS, right? So it follows the same properties of CSS. If it's a hash empty div, it's going to look for an ID. If it's a dot, it's going to look for a class. Okay. Right now I just have an ID, so I'm going to do an ID here. And then simply you can use a function. They have a function called HTML, and you can add your HTML in it. So let's suppose that I can add /h1. Okay. Let me show you the error first, and then we'll come back and see why it is not loading. So if I had my own JavaScript file before, you see it gives you an error. It says $$ is not defined. Why does it say that? Because it goes ahead and looks at my JS, this file. All right, it encounters this $. There's no $ in this perspective in JavaScript, right? So it kind of says, I don't know what $is. So that's why you have to load this file first, because $sign is defined over there, and they kind of set up everything so that you can use jQuery. Okay, so let's go ahead and move this back. And why don't I see my H1s? Yeah, you are using jQuery in your code. You have to write a JavaScript file, right? How would you use it? Yeah, Bootstrap is kind of
We put it in there, but we use
Yes.
the CSS like that. But
Right, but we still use it. Where do we use it? Bootstrap in our HTML. We have to define those classes. So in this case, it's a JavaScript library, so we put it in JavaScript. Yes, ma'am. No. Okay. All right. So I still don't see it. What's the issue over here? Oop. That is not what I wanted. Yes, it's the same issue that we had earlier. It should go below. So let's go ahead and move this. Okay, and there's my H1s, right? Huh? Yeah, why did I do that? It's running from your, it reads the first, second, goes like this, right? So what is happening is if I put my JavaScript, and over here, my HTML isn't even rendered, and it renders my JavaScript first. Yes, ma'am.
So do you have to call jQuery before you call your code every time?
Yes. I just saw an example. If I call my code before, what happens? It throws an
I
error.
get the order. I'm just saying if we do that again, as we go down the page, we're going to keep reading.
Oh, yeah, it's the same. Yeah, because still it will load this first and then this first. Yeah. Okay. But here's the deal. What's happening over here? The thing over here is happening is my HTML is not ready. My HTML has not been loaded. Okay, and that's why I get this. It doesn't render. That's if I put this in the head. Okay. For the exact same thing, jQuery has provided. You can do the same thing in JavaScript, but it's a little bit more code and complicated. But jQuery provides us with a function called ready. Let's see. I didn't put it here. So it's called dollar, and you will use this a lot in every example. Document.ready. What is this saying? Run this code only when my HTML has been rendered, when my DOM has been rendered, everything is ready, then go ahead and run this. Okay. Now this document.ready still is not complete, but this is the purpose of it. Now document.ready takes an argument, which is going to be another function. And when that argument is another function, what do we call that? Huh? Yeah, but that's good. Yeah, that's why I use the word argument. Yeah, so it's an argument, but the argument is another function. On Tuesday at the end of the day, I was blabbering about some last concept. For each function, what does a for each take? There was a function name I used. Starts with a C. Callback function. Yeah. So anytime a function takes in another function as an argument, that function we call it as a callback function. Okay. So what am I going to now say? I'm going to say document.ready takes a callback function. That should tell you that you have to pass in a function, any function. Okay. All right. So since this takes a function, what do I have to do? I have to define a function and then pass it in. All right. So let's go ahead and create a function, and then say after DOM is loaded. Okay. I don't need any parameters for it, and then I'm going to move this code here. So what am I saying? After the DOM is ready, then go ahead and run this jQuery code or whatever, right? Do not run until the DOM is ready, everything is good, okay? And then I just simply call this. And that's it. Okay, now let's go back. Right now it still works, so I'm going to go ahead and move this on the top. If the concept is right and everything is good, then this placement shouldn't matter. And there it is. It still works. You still see this thing. What happens now is it's in head. It goes ahead and runs this code. It runs this code, but it encounters this line, and it says run anything. Run this function only when the document is ready, right? And jQuery behind the scenes is listening. We call it listening. It's already listening. When your page is complete, it will know from its code, from the JavaScript code, when the document is ready. When your page is ready, when your HTML has been rendered, then only it's going to go ahead and call this.
Why would you want to do that? Or would you just put the script as part of it?
Right. You can do it. This is a simpler case where I put it at the bottom and it works. But there will be use cases where you really want to wait. You don't want even at the bottom. You can put it at the bottom, and that's the use case. But the much better practice is that you wait. Make sure that your document is complete. Because why would I wait for it? I want to access these elements, right? So the good practice is I make sure this function over here is going to guarantee that it's not going to run until your HTML is loaded. That's the reason. Yeah, it's a good practice. In this use case, yes, you can put it at the bottom and forget about it. It will still work. In our exercises, you will see it will still work. But in more complicated cases, there might come an issue that your HTML is not completely loaded and your JavaScript starts running and all this stuff. So this is like a good practice to get into the habit of it. But as far as this case, yeah, you don't need it. Right? But you will see this code being written everywhere, and people write this to guarantee that this code only runs because it's only going to get relevant when your DOM is loaded, right? If it's not even loaded or if something happens, none of this code really matters. Yes, Matt.
If there's other code in there like alerts and prompts, does it wait till all those happen before they're ready to like
No. And if I put an alert over here, it's going to go ahead and put that. So why would it do that? So my index, when I come over here, it goes here, reads it. So what is this? This is just a declaration. I'm not running that function right now, right? So it will do it, but it won't do anything. All right. If I create an alert after this, yes, it's going to go ahead and put that alert. It's going to run that alert because I'm doing some action. I'm putting an alert over here. Okay, come on. Oh, my screen went away. Okay, so if I put an alert over here, so it's going to come up. It's not going to wait for the document to be ready because what am I saying? I'm saying when the document is ready, then run this function. My alert is outside this function, so it doesn't matter. It's going to go ahead and run that alert.
I don't run the alert. I'm going to run the ready function, or does it wait for the alert to get cleared?
It will wait for the alert to be cleared first. Yeah, it's kind of alert is annoying. It kind of blocks the whole thing. Yeah.
Is
Yes.
Something we want to use every time.
Yes. Always start your code with ready. All right. So any jQuery code that you will see, always put it in your ready and then put your code. Okay. Now I showed you the easier way to write this code. Okay. Usually there's a different way that you write your functions. Generally, when you become more proficient in writing JavaScript, this is not the way you would write it. And when you're looking at somebody else's code, this is probably not the way you will see this code. All right. So there's a concept called anonymous functions in JavaScript. Now, am I going to use this function ever other than in ready? By looking at my code, I'm never going to use. This is the only time this function is going to get executed. And why do we need functions? Functions are more good for repeatable code, right? I'm going to keep calling that function. That's why I create a function. But in this case, I'm just calling this once. I'm never going to use this function ever again other than being in ready. All right? So for this, what we call is called anonymous function. Anonymous function means that you define a function without a name that gets called just once and it's done. Okay, what do I mean by this is so it's going to be the same thing, document, okay, dot ready, and still I need to call a callback function. Now how do I do a callback anonymous function? I just create a function right here. I say a function parentheses, curly brackets. You see there's no name for this function. Alright, so I cannot access this function from it. I cannot call this function. Only the way to call this function is when this function gets done, is going to just call it once and be done. Okay, and what do I do in this function? I put all my jQuery code inside it. This is exactly the same thing as defining a function, giving it a name, and then calling it. This thing, this creates what we call an anonymous function. You don't give it a name, you don't do anything. You just say, oh, this, when you're ready, just call this function, whatever the code is inside it. Okay, I understand this is initially kind of difficult to wrap your mind around and kind of go into this direction, but let's try to get into this habit because you will see this code a lot, right? when I was starting, it was difficult for me also because this one kind of makes more sense. It's easier to understand. I'm like, well, yeah, create a function. Create a function, just call it over here, right? But as I coded more, I realized how quick it is, how the redundancy in making a function that I'm never going to call again, right? So that's why these anonymous function exist. Again, how do I do it? I need to pass in a function, right? So I just create a function here without a name and give it a body, right? And then just put whatever code I want.
So what you're saying? Yeah. So
Yes.
best practice earlier, you were saying what after DOM loaded. So now this one is best practice.
This is still the same thing. It's still the
Well,
DOM
you're
loaded.
Yeah, but you're saying you'll see more of this one rather than
Right, but it has nothing to do with DOM being loaded. The practice still is that when the DOM is loaded, you have to execute some code. This is just a different practice to write the same function. You can write it this way, or you can write it this way. But most of the time, you will see people writing it this way. So I don't want you guys getting confused that, oh, this is what we learned, but I see this, what's going on over here. So this is most of the time you will see, and the reason is because this is kind of redundant because the function, what is the advantage of function? That you keep calling it again and again and again. Over here, I'm just going to call it once and I'm done with this method. I'm not going to use this code anywhere in my code at all, right? So for those kind of code, what we do is we call nameless function, or what we call anonymous function. Okay, you just put it in the body, you just say, hey, this is the function, just call that. Yes?
So with it being the second option we just learned is in the index HTML, do we still put it, are we still linking it in the bottom or within the top?
So again, the concept is how do you write it differently, but the concept about this being ready and putting on the top is still the same. So, so this still remains at the top.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to write
No. No. This is just a different way to write a function. It has nothing to do with document being loaded early or later. Okay. All right. So this is one way. Let me show you a couple of different things in jQuery. How do you create a new element? So you will say, let me go var. Let's create a new div. Everything is $. So, and then in this you just mention the tag that you're going to create. Okay, so I'm going to create a div tag, and then let's add some text to it. Text is a function, and then you can add this text is from jQuery. Okay. Similar to JavaScript, I need to append it. So where do I want to append it? I want to append in this tag. So I'm going to just use this dot append my new div. Okay, shows up over here. Similar concepts. The only thing is it's a little bit different methods. And how do I add new attributes or CSS? Same thing, and this time it's called attr, and then say class. Let's add fancy. Okay. Let's look at the jQuery API. So go to jQuery, and they have a really good documentation. All these methods that I'm using are mentioned over here. If you go into the section manipulation, they have DOM insertion. So I'm using append. They have append to, prepend. Kind of you can take a guess that it will insert an element before this one if you want to use it. Text adds the text to it. Let's see what else we have. Removal, you can remove the HTML elements also. Okay, dot remove, and it will remove some of these elements that you want. And if you click this, it should give you nice example and everything. So I'm just looking at this code and showing you over here. It's nothing different that I have over here. I'm just looking at the documentation and showing you the same code. Okay. Right. Any general questions about jQuery? Yes, Kevin. Append. So let's see what dot append does. So insert content. Okay. So what dot append does is it will take your, so you created this new div. Now I want to attach this div, right? This div is there, but it's not part of anything. So my document is coming. If I look at my HTML, right? This is the div that I created, kind of hard-coded in my HTML, and I want to insert this div now. Okay, so at these lines, they will create a new div, but they won't attach. It's still kind of like orphan div. It's not attached to anything. When you say hash empty div, what is empty div? It's an ID. What is the ID for? It's ID for this div, and that's why I'm saying that go to find this div, and then go ahead and append it. Add it towards the end of this div. So it goes ahead and then adds it over here. This is what the append does. It appends it to the end of the list or elements. Okay? Yes?
The bottom ATTR, that's it for attribute, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Attribute, yep. Okay. So do the same exercise, but this time you're going to do it with jQuery. Let's see. All right, so you are going to rewrite this code. This time you should not be using any of the create element, text content, or append child. You will be using the append, and then you will be creating this using this syntax. Okay. And then the text content you can use either HTML or .text, whatever the documentation had. So that I can see. Oh, these are nice too. After, before, insert after, insert before. Interesting. So I am looking for the text one. So it's .text or .html. Let's go ahead and jQuery this one. I don't know why it says using JavaScript. It should say using jQuery. should be very, very similar. The only thing is make sure you have added your text files from the CDN. Let's see these added over here. So let's make sure these are added. So record CDN. So I'm going to add it at the top, so make sure that I'm using the ready function. Actually, I don't need ready over here because this is inside my after my HTML anyway. So let's go ahead and do it without it. Drink div. So I need to get this one first. This is an ID. So I'm going to use hash. Okay, so it's giving something. It's kind of different. It has seems like this is an object itself. Look at that. And options, inner HTML, all these attributes. So I have my drink div. Next thing, just write the for loop. Similar loop. Let's call it I. Change it to var for now. This is going to be my drink list dot length. First thing I need to create a new div. New drink. Let's go ahead and create a div this time. Dollar. Text. List. Last thing I need to do is append it. So new div dot append. Drink div, because I want to append it to this one, and I want this one to be appended to this. Yep. And then I see you can add some attributes and make it nicer, bigger, so it looks better on your web page. But this is the basic solution. All right. Any questions on this?
No.
No? This seems sarcastic for some. Now, I know because this is week 4, you still are kind of getting used to JavaScript, and suddenly a new language pops up, and you have to remember new syntax like $, what you have to do. But there's no better time, unfortunately, to introduce for the concept that we are going to look at. Again, at least understand the basic ones. Append, text, how do you create a new one? Maybe look at prepend. Uh, these are the basic operations for Java, for jQuery. And in the exercises, I think even homework for jQuery, you'll be using these a lot more. Then get used to these ones. Okay. Real quick, probably you guys are not interested, but I will still show you. If you open this file, you can see all the code for jQuery that it is running.
How do you do that?
So the HTML file that the script file that you copied, I just copied. This is again, this is just a JavaScript file. So I copied this, put it in my browser, just remove the min part, and then it shows up. So we are using a append function, right? Let's see if we can find. Oh, there it is. So we are using append, right? So you see append function, and then they're doing this. So behind the scenes, eventually they are still using completely JavaScript. They just wrapped it around. You have to do all this stuff in JavaScript. They have wrapped it around nicely and exposed one function, as when you were pointing out, it's called append. Prepend, the code is here. Before, after, text. This is what they're doing in text. Remove. This is all they're doing. Okay. It's just something that I like to show that people are aware. There's not any hidden code or anything. It's out there. You can look at it. It's probably on GitHub also. That's how they have pushed it to GitHub. Okay.
Did you document already?
No, I didn't do it because it's at the bottom. This unsolved one, they put the script inside my HTML, so that's why I didn't put document.ready, because it's going to go here, it's going to parse it, but you can put document.ready over here. We'll see in some of the other exercises where the JavaScript file is separate, we'll use document.ready over there. Okay? Alright, so before we get into more complicated, I'll show you this one and then we'll take a break after this one. Events. Oh, mouse events. This one I will show you. Okay, so we saw adding and all that stuff. There, jQuery also has events, the mouse events. Remember, we do key up and key down and all those stuff. jQuery has all of those and some more. And how do you use those? So let me quickly show you how to use a click event. Because in the future, in the next exercise, we'll be using a click event. But all of those follow the same example. Okay, so I have these two added over here. Okay, and let's go ahead and add. I'm going to copy the same div from the previous one. Okay, same thing. I just have a div, so I don't have to keep coming back over here. Okay. So, okay. And let's change this a bit. Let me make this H3, and I'm going to give this an ID of click me. I'm going to add some text here. Okay. Again, this is not a button. You guys see it? It's just H1, but using jQuery, we are going to make it clickable. All right? It's just this. So we may We should add some CSS to it. Okay. So we'll start. I'm going to start with document.ready. So document dot ready. Oops. Okay. Close this here. I'm going to use the anonymous function syntax. So this means this thing. All right. Let's make sure everything is good. No errors. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use what's it, dot on. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to use the dot on event from the jQuery library. Okay, so this is the syntax, and let's go ahead and do this. So the first thing is I need to find the element that I'm trying to click. Okay, and what is that? I'm trying to click me, and this is an ID, so I have to put a hashtag, right? So I'm going to put a hashtag, and then the function is dot on. Let's close this. Okay. Now you see this dot on. The first thing it says is click. So what we are trying to do a click, right? When it clicks, and the second thing is, and what is it called? Callback, right? So the second argument has to be a callback function, right? So I'm going to use the same anonymous function syntax over here. So I'm going to say function. All right, don't need to have any name, and then body. Okay, so let's add Matt's favorite alert here. Okay, so when the document is ready and when somebody clicks on this hash, the ID, when the click happens, it's going to alert and say I've been clicked. So let's go back here, and you see this alert. Okay, so this is how you use the click events. Now these are, if you go back over here, if you scroll down, this should be in the documentation. It should say events somewhere, or mouse events. You can use the keyboards also, but mouse events, they have all these events over here. You can totally do this using the click event also. So let's do this a different way. If you look at this click one, documentation, it says dot click. So it is very similar. Hash click me. Okay, and then dot click, and then it says callback function. So I'm going to put a function same as this previous one, and then I'm just going to put the alert. So happens. Okay, so you have two options. Either you can use dot on, but you have to mention this, or you can directly use the click function. Now at this point we won't see any performance, but what I've been reading is that in this case they prefer that you use the on function and then put in the click. It is more performant versus this one. Okay, that's why you will see most of the time people will be using that one. I want to go in more detail, but you can read up on it, what's the logic behind it and how jQuery has coded it. But they say that this is more performant versus the click function. They both are calling a little bit differently. Okay, so but these are the two ways that you can do it. Let me go back to this one, and we are using ID over here, right? I can totally change this to a class. Let's suppose this is a class, right? How do you do it? It's a CSS class. So I can change this to dot. All right, and then this also works. Okay, So you can put any attribute. The only thing is just make sure which attribute you are using. If you're using an ID, it's going to be hash. If you're using a class, it's going to be a dot. Okay, or you can just put the whole element over here, put h3, and then it will work too, because this time it's just looking for h3. But what will happen if you have multiple h3s, and on every h3 is going to show you another. Okay, look at the documentation. They have quite a few methods, but they all follow the same kind of syntax. You can use hover, double click is there. So if you double click, mouse leave, mouse enter, all of these are same. You pass in an anonymous function, callback function, and it's going to work on it. Okay, let's take a break, 10-minute break. We'll start back at 8, and at 8 we have a lot of bigger activities. Okay, you guys are going to do all of those activities. So I showed you the simple ones. You guys are going to do the complicated ones now. It's like a whole bootstrap project after this. No, they are not simple at all. That's what I was saying.
No, he's saying he's now it's simple.
Oh, okay. Well, compared to the ones that is coming, yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is as simple as it gets. I cannot make it any more simpler than this.
Does anyone have the ibuprofen?
Should come with Monster, Red Bull, ibuprofen, everything.
Ah, yes.
I should add that in my orientation. Oh, were you able to deploy your project?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome.
I had my assets folder in my link.
Oh, I saw
Said
it.
Capitalized.
Oh.
Once I got that fixed.
Yeah, it's not working.
Everything started to work.
Oh, okay, awesome. I totally misunderstood your question, and then I saw your comments talking with Nick. I was like, oh, okay, that's what you asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just couldn't get it to work.
Yeah.
Everything else would load except for.
It's funny. George over here had the same problem, but for the previous assignment, and he had the names uppercase and all that stuff, and it just wouldn't work. So
I think it's because in the Bootstrap assignment, I accidentally capitalized my assets folder.
Oh, okay.
So I had just been typing like assets with a capital A.
Ah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
so I just did that without thinking.
Right. And I've seen a few people did index as uppercase I and then index. Kind of habit, because that's how the English language is. But then it wouldn't work. I was like, well, GitHub is looking for a lowercase I. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it works now.
Oh, awesome.
I got the basic.
Yeah. I saw the article that you posted in your the recognition or the thank you note at the bottom of the GitHub. Yeah, that was a nice idea.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you for putting that on
Yep.
there. It's helped me out a lot.
Yep.
Saying,
Yes.
you did the jQuery CDN.
Google jQuery CDN. And the first thing to do. Yep. Yep.
Never mind. Yeah, I mean,
jQuery as the first thing. I would use the minified one, and there it is. Same as the Bootstrap.
Well, I was scrolling down there, I think,
Oh.
if you go back, I was just looking for like a CDN. I had to see CDN in there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this one should work.
I don't know.
Can you stack out the next one, the
No
sandwich
water.
one?
Yeah.
I know. I thought that was so weird. No water.
So Nick has stacked out the exercise, and this is exercise. Start on that after, whenever you guys are ready.
So you, so what you could do is you could and then
So this is the exercise we are doing right now. So this has to do with the click events. Nick slacked out the exercise. Take a look at it, and you have to similar the example code that I showed you guys. This time you have to add in this HTML that is already given to you. So add an alert message to pop up saying something salty about sandwich time. So take a minute and look at the code first and see what is going on. Okay, the comments are pretty good too, so this should direct you what you are trying to do. So what is the first step? The comments are saying variables. Create variables. Here we create variables for tracking the number of sandwiches eaten. How many sandwiches are there? How many different kind of sandwiches? 3. Okay. So create, how many variables do we need to create? 3. Okay. So let's go ahead and create 3 variables, and we are trying. What is the purpose of the variable? Track the number of sandwiches eating. Number. So what's going to be the data type? Number. So just create a variable and assign 0, because right now when the website kicks in or starts, we haven't clicked anything, we haven't done anything, so there's no sandwiches eaten. So we can start with 0. So declare 3 variables, give it appropriate names, and assign 0 to them. John, you look confused.
No.
All right. Maybe.
Well, it's just var, and then you create,
Yeah.
and then you create your variable.
Yeah, so-
Zero, right?
Yeah.
Alright.
John is like, how is this so easy? It has to be more complicated. Well, it's coming.
That's why.
If you're done with this part, read this one and ponder. Try to see what I did in the previous one, and look at the jQuery documentation. Okay. So let's search jQuery API, and then we were using let's use the on event. So I'm going to search the on, right? And if I click here, it should take me to a nice example. And this is something that I'm trying to do. All right. Seems like a little bit more extra things over here, but try to read and try to understand how do you take this code and put it in your code. Okay, what am I trying to do? So since it seems like most of the people got this part, so I'm going to do this. So let's go. PBJ. Cheese. Counter. Okay. So everybody understand what I'm trying, what's going on? What is the ask over here? That when you see 3, you should see 3 divs. I should have run this first and see if it even works. Close out these. Okay. So I have these 3 divs over here, and every time I click, an alert should come up. That's the purpose of this exercise. Okay. And then in the alert, it should show how many times each one has been clicked. Okay, basically they are saying how many sandwiches are eaten. Every time I click, it is going to consider that sandwich is eaten. Right? Basically, you are just adding how many times this has been clicked. So that's why I create those variables. Okay. What's the next step? Here we create various on-click functions. So how many on-click functions do we need? 3, because I have 3 sandwiches, and in every click I want to capture this. Okay, good. So I need 3 on-click functions. Let's look at the documentation. Close this out. Close this out. So it starts with $, okay, and then I need to find an identifier, the div that is being clicked, and then dot on, and after on, what am I doing? I'm clicking, so I need the click string, and then anonymous function, and what should happen inside that function? An alert, yeah, that's what this happens. So instead of console log, we are going to put alert over here. So $, and then something, okay, and then dot on, it's a function, okay. I start like this because it's kind of easier, so that I don't have to worry about if my parentheses is closing or not. And then I need to find this ID. So this is an ID, so I'm going to use hash. Okay? So hashtag PBJ. Okay? And on click. Okay, this was the clicks is in double quotes, yeah. Okay, yeah, looks like it has to be in double or single quote, whatever, whichever convention you are following. Huh? Yes, yes. Okay, and then the second is a callback function. So let's go ahead and function, parentheses, don't have to name it, and then my body, the function body. Okay. Yeah, you will create an this one is done for PBJ. This should only work for PBJ. Yeah. Yep. If I want to create the next one, I'm just going to copy paste this. You guys type the whole thing out. No, that was sarcastic. Don't type it.
It's good practice, though.
It's good practice. Yes, exactly. I will take back. Yes, it is good practice. Please type it out. No, seriously. So the third one is going to look same thing. Okay, now this is the core functionality, and within this now you can put anything, test it out. Let's before I proceed, I'm going to test each of these functions to make sure that what I'm expecting works. So I'm going to say pbj div clicked. Okay, so let's try the pbj click. Look at my inspect. Let's see if this works. Okay, so I see my console, so this one is working. I'm going to do the same thing, test the second one out. Okay, oop, change this. Okay, grilled cheese is working, the first one is working, the third one I don't have a console log, so that's why I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and put a console log, change this. Okay. Okay, roast beef is working, grilled cheese is working, peanut butter is working. Right? Any questions on this part? We'll add the rest of the code, but this is the core functionality. If you got this part, then you can add alerts and increase the counter. That's a little bit relatively easier than getting this part. Okay. So let's see what else it was asking. Inside each event, create an alert and update the counter. Then show the updated counter. So every time it clicks, I want these variables to go up by 1, right? That's what it is saying. Every time you click, increase this by 1. And then show that it had been updated. So let's first create and I need to stop this, going to keep alerting me. I'm going to just change it to alert, PBJ, say clicked, okay. And then let's go ahead and update it. Update the counter, update this variable. So PBJ counter, you can do it two ways. You can say PBJ counter +1, right? That's what you're trying to do. So we are incrementing this by 1 and assigning it back to this counter. So we can kind of reuse this. Okay. Generally, the short form for this that you will mostly see, and you have seen this in the for loops, plus plus. This is same as the previous one. What plus plus does, just like in for loops, it is basically saying PBJ counter is equal to PBJ counter +1. Okay, this is just a short form to do the same thing. Now I show an alert, then I update it because it has been clicked, and then we can show again more annoying. Show one more alert saying U8 PBJ counter okay, just shows you the new count, so we can be assured that it is working. Let's go ahead and run this. So if I click PBJ, it says okay, PBJ clicked, increases, and now it's 1. Okay, if I click it again, this time it's 2. Okay, click it again, this time it should be 3. Kind of keeps increasing. Okay, complete the rest of them, similar thing. Just going to just change the counter. Okay. Where did I call what? So it should already be there. I didn't do it. In the unsolved, it's already there. Yeah, on the top. I'm seeing what? I increased it and then I just popped up one more alert. So if I click it, first time it will say this is clicked, and then the second alert shows up saying I have eaten these many sandwiches. So it's just after I increment the counter. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, what did you say you were using dot click?
Oh, the shortened one. So let's go back to our good documentation and find that method. So these are all events. So look up under events and then mouse events. So mouse events, click, double click, anything you want. So click, and same thing. So you will say $id dot click and then just a function. Yeah, either one works. But what I was saying is this one seems like more preferable. You can read up on it. Seems like this is more performant versus the second one. But seems like there's a different logic behind each one of those. Mm-hmm. So for your parentheses, you see mine are like colored. So I installed a new plugin. And I think Max, from the other TA, he put in resources in the hash resources channel. That's what I picked up. So this is called bracket pair colorize, this extension. So I'm using this. So that's why you see are mine are colored, and it's kind of easier to see where it is ending. So I'm seeing this blue one. Huh? It's called bracket pair. Yeah. Oh, there are more than one? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, Max posted that's a nice one. So that's why. This will tell you if you're missing a parentheses. So this one is complete because I have both of these. If I was missing, so I don't see a. Yes. So if you're using this one, it should already be added on the top. You see this one? Script. This tag. So it should already be there. But this is if you are developing from scratch. Just use this thing. Script and then jQuery. Yeah, CDN, jQuery CDN. Use the whatever the later. Yes. What is it? Oh, the documentation. Documentation. Either you just Google jQuery, it should come up, or Google jQuery API. jQuery API, and then it should come up API documentation, and this should have everything here. So if you're looking for DOM insertion methods, you go over here, you will see the append, before, after. It should be inside. So these methods are here. Now we are looking at click ones, so these are events. So look up the event section, events, and you can go into keyboard or mouse events, and they should bring up click event, double click, any one of those. Okay. All right. Any questions before we start the real exercise? Yes. Oh, this alert. It's up to you. Yeah. Yeah. The exercise said use an alert. That's why I used the alert. Somewhere in the exercise they were saying use an alert.
Make sure that you need to make sure that it just put it in the screen. So the alert will tell you what you're doing.
Yeah.
Put it in the page and you go look at it, see what you're doing.
Yeah, I just used the alert to because it said alert use an alert. Yeah. But as Blair is saying, use whatever. So the code within it doesn't really matter. The thing is that you guys understand what's going on over here and here. Within this, yeah, use console, alert, whatever you want. Okay. All right. Let's look at the 2x. These are quite big, and they should take um, most of your time. Let's see what we are trying to. These will be slack to you guys so that you guys can see as well. Let's see what is happening. So the first one is trigger random exercise. Good instruction. Just add in a missing code. The big blue button. All right. So let's run this one and see what it does. And of course these are. Okay, so this is going to be the final solution. I think the bootstrap and all this stuff is already added. So when you click this button, it should generate a random number. Okay, and just keep clicking, keep clicking. This is the goal of this exercise. Okay, so run the unsolved one. I'm running this solved one. So let me go back and run the one that you guys are getting on Slack. Trigger random. So this is how it shows up for you guys. When I click, nothing happens. Okay, so you guys need to put in the code. Code behind this blue button that it generates the random number at the bottom. Okay, that's the goal. And in this exercise, you guys can pair up, work in a group. I don't mind. Kind of collaborate if you want. Discuss ideas. Just make sure you guys are understanding. Sometimes somebody else in the same boat experience seems like that's much better. So maybe you can transfer some of those. So if you want to work in a group, it's totally fine. Highly recommended. But this is what we are trying to achieve. And let's see what the code is. Before you even begin, take a few minutes, start from the top of the code, try to make sure what's going on. A lot of this code is already written for you, but it doesn't mean that you just keep ignoring what's going on, right? So look at the code first, see what's going on. Starting from the top, understand what you have, kind of gives you an idea what's going on, and then go into and see what you have to add. So if I look at my head tags, I can already know, okay, it seems like JavaScript, jQuery is already added for me. I have Bootstrap. There's some other library called Font Awesome. Looks like is being used in the example. Okay, just to get an idea. You only have to write everything in the jQuery part, but still it's good to know. So I have a div. And then looks like this is a jumbotron, so this is this. Then I have a text, which is this. Then I have a button with these IDs, so this is this button. Okay, so I already have my button, so I don't have to do anything over here. And I already have a new H1, which generates this random number, where the random number should be placed. Okay, I don't see it because it's empty right now, but it seems like it's already given to you guys. So this is where I want to put the number. Oops. This is where the number goes. Okay, yeah, this is where, so I want to get this ID, and from my jQuery I want to put that number over here. Okay, now break it down, try to see what's the it's same as if you want to look at the sandwich exercise, go back and look at it. It's the same concept. Okay, if you click it, shows up a random number. But the interesting part is the random number is between 1 and 1000. That's the catch. It's not that easy.
Damn you.
Have you guys seen the math.random function? Robert?
Once.
Do you understand what it is doing? That's the non-technical answer. I want the technical. Yeah. This one. You can go back to your RPS exercise and get that random random number code. But what I want is I want to see what it is doing. How do you understand that? You can copy paste it, right? It will work. But I like to understand what's going on. So somebody who can go through it. Ali, you want to try? So first, you can look that up from the previous exercise if you don't remember. But first, let's write it down, the whole thing. Well, first I want the syntax exact, and then we'll break it down. Math dot random. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay, excellent. Okay, excellent. Yeah, thank you. So this is, as Ali is saying, this is the syntax for generating a random number. Now, what is going on over here? Let's look at this one. What does this part do? Yeah, I mean that's the easy part. You can say it's generating random. But what exactly, like what random number do you think it shows up? Huh? Anybody knows if I put mat.random in JavaScript, what's the number I'm going to get? You hear that? Say that again.
It's between 0 and 1 or 10.
It will generate a number between 0 and 1. What is a number? What are numbers between 0 and 1? All decimals. Alright, excellent. So mat.random number always generates a number between 0 and 1, but never 1. It is never going to give you a 1. It will give you 0 and then 0.9999999 whatever. It will never give you 1. Okay, that's the first thing. Alright, so if this gives me a number between 0 and 1, then I multiply by 3, what happens? It gives me a number between 0 and 2.9. It will never give me 3. Why not? Because it's never something like this. Okay? Alright? Now, let's go and see what is this math.floor. Right. Floor means down. So it is always going to push it down to the nearest integer, nearest whole number. Okay, that's what math floor does. So 2.99 is 2. Okay, so if 2 comes up, if 2.99 comes, is going to give you 2. So in this part, we are going to get numbers from 0 to 2. But that's not what we want. We want numbers from 1 to 3. Right? So if you add at the end 1, what's going to happen? Whatever number comes up is going to add to this. Okay? Yes, George. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you can add ceiling. But what is going to happen with ceiling is then you will never get a 0 because you're always going to take it to 1. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yeah. Try mat.ceiling, and it should give you the top one. So it should give you 3. Yeah. And then so now keeping this in mind, if I want to generate numbers from 1 to 1000, what do I have to change? Exactly. So instead of 3, I'm going to put 1000. Yes, and we put a +1 at the end because we want from 1 to 1000. If I don't put a +1, I'm going to get numbers from 0 to 999. Yeah, I still need that 1 at the end.
Could you also just set instead of 1000, could you just set 1001 without the +1?
Yeah, try 1001. So what will happen if you set it to 1001? It's going to multiply 0.999 with 1001. What's the result? Is it point? Well, I'm taking the worst case. So if you multiply by 1001 with a 0.9999.
Isn't math.floor always rounding it down?
Yeah, it was always rounded down. It will always round it down because it is mat.floor. So it will always round it down.
So wouldn't that be 1000.99?
What is it?
Instead of 1001.9, would it be 1000.9999?
Yeah, that's what I was. Is that what's going to come out as? 1000.999? Right? Yeah.
But then it would round down.
It will come to then 1000. Right? But what's going to happen? You will get a 0 also. We don't want 0. We want from 1 to 1000. Right?
Got it.
So that's why you cannot use 1001. Right? The end is good, but the beginning will be 0.
Understood.
Oh, if you need a 0.
Huh? If you need a 0, then this works. Yes. Yes. If you need a 0, then it works. Good. Good questions, and yeah, you guys are thinking in the right direction. Anybody has completed this exercise? Almost? So close? Awesome. Yes. What is it? So, what is going on now? What is that? Read this and
EJ wants PB and J. So once PB and J is
yes.
okay. That was it. Oh my gosh.
Got it? This one? This one?
Wrap my mind around it.
Okay.
I was
So,
explaining the math.random saying that in order to get the 1, you have to put the plus 1 on the end because if it rounds down, it never.
so math, break it down. So what does math.random does? Do you understand this, Joe? What will be the output for this one? Huh? No, not necessarily. Yeah, 0 and then what else? So math.random is always 0 to 1, but never 1. So it's going to be from 0 to 0.9999 something, right? So this is what this does. When you multiply with this with a number, it raises this to a number, right? If I multiply this by 1000, what does my range become? From 0 to 1000 or oh yeah, sorry, 999.99999, right?
So
But
if you wanted that 0, like to the 3, you would just do 3.
If I wanted what?
If you had originally like the 3, you would just do the 3.
Yes.
Then you just do plus 1, and that would make that 0 automatically 1.
So this 3 is inside this bracket. This 3 or 1000 is always going to be this range. What the range that you are trying to find. So if my range is 1 to 5, so I'm going to put 5 over here. If my range is 1 to 10, I'm going to put 10 over here.
Okay, but it's inside a bracket.
It's inside this bracket. So right now it's 1000, so I put 1000. So this is the range I'm going to get. Now this thing goes here. So multiply by 1000. Okay, brackets. Okay, and then comes math.floor. So what math.floor does is it will round it off to the lower end. Lower end means it's always going to give you a integer, a whole number. It's going to round it off to the lower end. So this 999 becomes 0 to 99. It's not going to give you 1. So if you have a number 896.6789, math.4 is going to give you 896. Exactly. So your range now becomes 0 to 999 over here. But what the range we are looking for is from 1 to 1000. So what do? Just add plus 1.
So that's what I was confused on. So just adding that plus 1 gives you the 1 and then for the base, the
Yeah.
1 for the end.
Yeah, it adds at both ends, right?
That almost
Always know that's what he's right.
because I literally added that adds a 1 to the 0.
Yes.
Get it, but I guess I was missing the
Yep, exactly.
parentheses.
Yeah.
That's what it-
Yeah. So this plus 1 is outside the parentheses.
Got it.
Blair, are you done?
No.
What?
I know. I thought I had it, but it didn't work.
So how far did you get? All right. Show me. Tell me the code. What do I type it over here? What do you have here?
So far I have $sign because it's parentheses.
Okay.
And then double quotes. Hash random button.
Random. Random what?
Random button.
Why do you have random button? Oh, this ID? But I'm not trying to.
But don't you need to do that on click? You need to run this.
I mean, I'm sure there's.
Oh, you're doing the on click. Okay. Okay. So what? Random button. Okay. Sorry. And then.
On click.
And then dot on.
Excellent. Okay.
Wait, let me get it wrong.
And then.
Let me get it right.
What do you have?
Double quotes click,
Excellent.
comma,
Function.
function.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this is where none of this stuff works.
Okay. What do you have after this?
I just had an alert that says you click this button, bro.
Is that how you typed it?
So with the math part,
Well, he's trying to test it. He's trying to test it.
Test it because the other thing that I had is clicking. And then even
That makes sense though.
So it shows up.
Okay.
You have it right.
I have other stuff afterwards that's it's struggling with. It's struggling with something that I had.
Oh, so if you take that extra part out, if you just do this, does this work?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So what's the other part then? Tell me the good
so
part.
I put something. I tried to set up something before all of this. I set up a variable random number to math.floor.
Okay, so over here.
Oh, that's probably why it didn't work.
Why?
Set it outside.
Where did you set it?
I put it above everything else.
Over here. So you have var random.
And then I did math.floor. Capital M.
No. Oh,
It doesn't?
no. Look at this. What did it say?
My math is a different color than your math.
And it's because it's
It might be
the
some
end is
extension there. Huh?
capitalized. The end is
Yeah, M is capitalized. So doesn't the Visual Studio help you when you type in?
Sometimes when I do that, like when I hit enter on the help me things, it will put it in just as I have.
Oh, because I had the wrong case. I had F. I thought it's uppercase, but it tells me, oh no, it's lowercase. So I use this.
So Daniel, why doesn't it go inside of it? Because
What goes inside of what?
it's first we declare it within the function. I'm just confused on why we didn't put the math for within the when the buttons in the function.
Oh yeah, you're right. It goes inside it. I was just copying the code that Blair had.
Okay.
Yeah, you are right. It should go inside though.
And why didn't we do the var random?
Why? So what is the var used for? No. What is var random?
To declare
Yeah.
random.
So I want to save whatever this number comes out. I want to save it over here because I'm going to use it
I
later.
think it might be the
Right?
ideas that they use. Because everything is easy to bootstrap plastics and
Okay. So what is next? It's actually just literally 2 lines. Now I think about it. This exercise is just 2 lines.
So you would do, you would go to your, as soon as the street comes up.
Yeah.
You go to your random number ID.
This
You do
one?
dollar sign.
Okay.
Parentheses, quotations, and then hashtag, or whatever it is, number, random.
Okay. Pound. Yeah. There you go. Hashtag pound.
I'm not wrong.
And did you guys use text or HTML? What did you use? Text. Yeah, that's simple. Excellent. Yeah, that's
so close.
it. Awesome. All right, guys. Questions? Anybody who didn't?
How would you do it if it was JavaScript?
If this was in JavaScript. This is
It
JavaScript.
was like,
Man,
You're not using Class C money sign.
no, it was done.
This thing?
Okay.
This is JavaScript.
My dad had something like that.
These are JavaScript functions.
So if you weren't using jQuery, you just remove the $ random button.
Yeah, I can do this outside jQuery also. This function is valid anywhere. It's because of JavaScript. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, this is just JavaScript. Can I got it? This one? This is this over here. That's what I'm saying. Go through the HTML and see what's happening. Try to compare this thing. So I have a Jumbotron, right? What is this Jumbotron over here? This is Jumbotron, right? And then I have generate a random number. Where is this? This is this text over here. Okay. Then I should have a button. Where's my button code? Oh, this is this button. So here this is. After this, there is this H1, which I don't see right now, right? Because I don't have anything over here. So remember what I did? I put in something to test my code out. This is MTH1. Okay. And this is where I want to put my number. So I'm like, okay, this is where my number goes. And then I use this over here to get there. Okay? John?
I think I'm missing a character or something.
Okay.
Because it is not working.
Is there any error in the console? Check the console and see if there's any error. Alright, anybody having issues? Because the next exercise is built on this one. So this should be working. We're going to make it more complicated. This was
How exciting!
still simple. Got it? Awesome. Yes.
So the next one is going to stack on this one.
First of all, I got my server. Do that. Oh my God, it was what file are you talking about? Create a file. Call it live.
But if I was seeing there, my eyes are going to here. It's always
All right, for those of you who have finished, I'll show you the next one, and then I'll walk around, make sure everybody else has completed this. So you're going to generate the lottery numbers in this one. Lottery numbers.
the winning ones, I hope.
The winning ones, there you go. Yeah. Alright, same interface, same everything. The only difference is this is what should happen. How many numbers? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 numbers this time. Alright, and it should append at the keep appending on the top. You see the top one? Okay. First this goes down, the new one comes on top. Alright. There's no starter code. So from your previous exercise that you just did, just add code in the same one. Okay. And if you were not able to complete the previous one, let me know and I'll help you complete that one. Okay. Any questions other than how do you do this?
How do you do this?
Any errors on your console? Go back to your console.
Okay.
What is it? When you're adding more to it. Do it here and then save the activity.
Check in the end, you should have a line number and then go back and see what line number it is.
And then have like a screen cap.
Right? Well, you're just
It's the same. I guess we're just modifying the.
Right, so it is the same exercise from the previous one this time. When I click this, it should generate a 9-digit number. And then if I click again, it should generate a new 9 number and add it on the top.
There's a lot going on.
Yes, there's a lot.
There's so much going on. So we want to have a number with the
So it's not math.
generate. So 1 through 9. Yes. Because you can't just have it be a random number between it's not a random one because it could be 1. So you need to have every single digit.
So here's the hint, you cannot generate a number from 0 to million. Yeah, so you have to do something else. There's a random number. Yeah. So no, go ahead. I was listening to you. I was listening to you. What were you saying?
I said, is there like some kind of function that I don't know how to explain it.
Okay. So you cannot generate this.
Know how many digits you have?
No. So the hint is still you're going to still use this mat.floor whatever the random number.
Like a random.
Of course not.
With
This.
a certain amount of digits.
Yeah. But you cannot generate this number. So what do? How about you break it down? How about I generate this random number, then this, then this, then this, then this, then this, and then combine them.
So we need 9 plants.
Why would you write 9 codes?
No, you need a
For loop. Use a for loop. Do not write 9 codes. Use a for loop.
For anything you need
Generate. And what's going to be the range now?
9.
Right. It has to be from 0 to 9. 0 to 9, 0 to 9, 0 to 9.
So you don't know.
Right?
Now,
Yes.
is that going to be
Within this code. Same thing. When I click this, now instead of a random number, it should generate this. So it's still in the same code.
What are you doing then? No.
No. Not for each character. You have one for loop that will loop through, generate this number first, then loop again, generate this number, then this number, then this number, then this, and then keep going. Oh, the next set of numbers? Yeah. First complete. Let's code this and then come back to this one. So the first step should be, again, don't think too ahead. First, a complement should be, when I click this should come up. That's it. We'll come back to the other ones. And you won't need a second for loop. Why not? Because every time I click, it appends. Okay. But I'm using the word append intentionally.
I don't know how to generate something unexpected. I don't know how to categorize 9 digits.
Why not? How do you combine? Remember console log? I was trying to combine 2 things. How do I do that? Yeah, plus. Right? Just use the. It's a string. Yeah. In the end, this is going to be a string. It's not actually going to be a number.
Yeah.
You're adding different numbers. Eventually, it's a string. But you are. So the first step would be, I'm going to generate a number between 0 and 9.
Let's break this up. So you obviously know how to generate a random
Okay.
number, right?
And how many times I want to generate this number?
Uh-oh. He's getting it.
9 times. Okay? So when I say 9 times, I need to use a for loop, which is going to run 9 times. Okay? And then I take each one and combine them.
You still have to have the plus 1 to do 9. But then you're not. No, yeah, that's right. I took it away, but
I was like, this if you wanted to add 9.
I don't know how to get 9.
So remember math.random times whatever. So if it's math.random times 5, it's going to be between 0 and 4.
And this random number is?
Right?
Fine, it's a new concept. So yeah, does that make sense? So generate essentially a number 9 times, and then throw it up on the screen.
Michael, you got it?
I'm just generating a billion.
Oh, but see how far you go before it crashes?
And then I realized that I wanted to pretend, not append, because I wanted
That was
to
a
come
trick.
at the top.
Yep.
So display, yeah, like there should be. Yes. You don't need to insert into it. You don't even need to do that. Yeah. So here, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. So random number. So the dollar value is right. I'm grabbing that. But you need to include the little that. So that's going to do. It's going to give you in this case, you don't see you don't need to create another element. You can just set the text.
I'm adding this to so could I?
So you would say result dot function called text.
So yeah.
Right. How far did you get?
I have ideas. Well, so putting them down in a way that I can actually implement.
Okay. What is the idea?
I'm trying to think of the way to describe. We just talked about what to do.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how to. So they're not actually adding the numbers.
Oh, don't add it. So if you don't want to pass any numbers, what do you have to do? This is what you're saying, right? If you do and add something to it, it will add it instead of concatenating, right? So it has to be a string, right? If I do this, var load number is equal to empty string, it will fix this as a string. Now anything that you add to it, it's always going to concatenate, right? If you don't put this and then try to add something, the JavaScript might guess it as a number. So to make sure it never does it, so you say equal to an empty string. So this way, this is always going to be a string. Oh no, push is for arrays. We are not using arrays. Then what do? We just do loto number is equal to loto number plus whatever that random number comes up. So it's going to take this. The first time is going to be empty, right? It's going to generate a number. It's going to enter that number. Let's suppose it generates a number 1. Okay? So your loader number becomes 1. So this will be all in a loop. Okay? Why in a loop? Because I'm trying to generate those 9 numbers, right? These 9s. These 9. So the first time it goes, it adds, let's suppose 1 was chosen, it adds 1. The second time it comes, it says, what is the loader number? It's 1. What is the random number? Let's suppose 3 came up. So it's going to add 1 plus 3 and it's going to make it 1, 3. Why 1, 3? Because it's a string. It will add next to it. Next time comes random number is, now my loader number is 1, 3. Random number comes up, let's suppose 5. We're going to go ahead and add 5 to it. right? And keep going until how many times? 9 times. The key is that you declare var, loader number, whatever variable as a string. So you put double quotes at the end and an empty string, and then JavaScript is not going to mess with it as a number. Joffrey, do you understand? What's the logic to generate this number?
So
I'll be honest, this is not a good day for me.
so if you call less than random
Really, I've been
So,
doing the activity.
that's not-
Okay. No, it has nothing. It's
This is hard. I'm not even. I'm trying to think about JavaScript. I understand this. but I'm trying to
so
think about
you
it.
can't, you can't.
this is not even part of our activity or.
So instead of random number, how many times do you want to move text? How many? Well, for the lottery number, no. So how many random numbers? 9, right? So instead of the random number, so
You cannot do it. Let's go back and see.
oh, so the dot length is
Let me
actually
give you that. You cannot do
that does work, but that's not what we want.
Okay.
I didn't see the dot length, so you can delete the dot length.
So what the logic is, you break it down into single digits. You
And
generate
quotes.
the first digit, then the
Because
second.
remember, we're doing arithmetic, so we can only do arithmetic with numbers. So I is less than 1. So how many times? So
No.
Yes.
Nothing with that. No, there's a vehicle involved.
well, if it's 9, and we if I so if I is
You
equal to
generate
9,
this number.
is 9 less than 9?
The first number.
No. So we
And
need
then the
10.
second.
Oh, I was right.
What's
Yes.
the first number? 8. What
Beautiful.
is the range?
Okay.
If I don't
So we
have
got a loop. We're saying y
what's
is equal
the
to 0,
zero
or we want to loop 9 times. Okay, so inside that loop, you're generating a random number, and then you're setting random number text equal to random number. So halfway there, what that's going to do is it'll just generate one of these, and each time you click, it'll generate, another, only one. So as Daniel was saying, how can we add more numbers? So remember with strings, right? So we can say
Yeah, 0 to 9. Just need 9 times. You can do it 1 to 10, 0 to 9. It just has to run 9 times.
right?
Yeah.
So what will name be in this case?
So then.
Well, yeah. So what would name be if we did this? Well, these are not numbers; these are strings. Yeah. So if I set name equals to Mike plus Smith, what is that going to look like? Right.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't it be a space between the
There is no space.
Okay.
You have to tell that.
Yep, you gotta put that in. So if we did want a space, we either put a space
So this is
here,
how I
or
generate
we
9
do
numbers.
plus.
0 to 9. It just has to run 9 times.
But in this case,
Yeah, just hardcore 9 over there.
so
There's no array,
this is
there's
what
no.
name is.
I just want this
So
code that I'm
using
going to write
this,
run
how
9
can we
times.
now
Why do I want it to run 9
every
times?
single
So I can generate
So.
9 numbers. 1, 2,
Uh-huh.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So 0 2 is going to run 8. Right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or you can do 1 to 10.
So,
Whatever makes more sense to you. I just want this to run 9 times. I don't
yes.
care.
Yeah, you need that.
And then
that generates
whether
a
it works
response,
So
or
right?
then would I make another?
That would go after the math.random,
Like
Yes.
that out. Like it has their
The what?
declaring another thing, but
Uh-huh.
Again, math.random comes
Yeah,
after
on the right
this.
track. So
The first logic
based on what you
is
said,
I want 9 numbers. Okay, generated separately. So that's why I need a for loop so that it runs 9
so
times.
what is this variable?
And then I'm going to generate math.random 9
So
times.
So based on the var name equals Mike plus Smith, so what was the name, the data type?
Same code,
Yes.
math
So,
dot floor.
no. Yes.
Okay,
So-
and then it was math dot random.
Right. So if we just set it to an empty string, it's essentially an empty string. So now each time
Now what is the number I'm going
we
to
generate a
get?
random number,
How
can we add
0 and 9,
that
exactly.
number to lotto?
So I'm going to get a number between 0 and 9 when I do this. And then how many times I'm running this? 9 times. I'm going, generate a number
So
1 time, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times.
so we're adding,
Why am I running it 9 times? Because I want 1, 2, 3, 4. If I had 10, I'm going to run 10 times. If I had 8, I want to run it 8 times. So I'm going to break it down into a single one.
yes.
So I'm going to have a range
But
from
when we do
0 to
this,
9.
What,
Alright.
What comes before?
And the next part, I just want to combine them. Right? I'm going to get a number.
So
I want
we
to
already
save it.
have
I
the
want
square,
to
right?
keep appending. Keep adding them.
So remember when we did number.
So for that, I was saying if you create a variable called
So the same way.
Lotto number is equal to empty string. This is telling JavaScript that this is always going to be string
So this is the
data
same
type.
thing as this. So based on here, what needs to come?
Okay.
So what needs to be equal to? Look at these.
Now I am going to add this. I want to combine every number that comes. So what is going to happen?
Make sense?
I'm going to get a number between 0 and 9. Let's suppose I get 8.
But how is it going to go like?
It's going to come here.
So
So
that's
this
how
is
we
eight
played
plus
so that
what is
comes
loader number the
after
first time?
we create
Empty
all of
string.
our numbers. So you see what he did here?
So it just adds
So-
8.
Well, we still have to have that text though in there so that it actually generates.
So
What text?
yeah, so
Yeah.
this is
So
obviously
we had a number dot text. So we
so
had above.
for
So we
example,
have to have it in that forming function.
when I is equal to
Before
0.
we had.
So what's going to happen is random
Yeah, you need this to complete first. You need to get
gets a random number, right? Let's
8,
just say
7,
it's
6,
7.
5, 4.
Okay.
This number first, and then you want to put it. So
We set
first you want to
lotto number,
generate this number.
which is
So
initially
that goes outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be
that's what I was
outside.
an empty
wondering if it went
string,
in or
right?
out.
No, that will be outside. Because you want to get this number first and then show it on the screen.
So what that's going to do is it's going to say this empty string is going to look like that. So this goes from empty string to now being 7.
Oh, because it's storing.
Yeah, we're just the technical term is called concatenating. So we're basically just adding strings to a string. So when I is equal to 1, we then generate a new random, right? Okay. Lotto plus string. Okay. So right now, Lotto is 7, right? We're adding 6, which means what? So yeah, we got 7, we're adding 6. Yeah. So now it's 7, 6. Yeah. So as we keep going, it's going to continuously add more and more and more numbers, right? Until I less than 10 is satisfied. That make sense?
Do you get it, Andrew?
Yeah, I do.
That's why it wasn't. It is less than 9.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, it is less than 9 because we started from 0. Got one.
I had it there.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. That, so the trick was that was the trick part. The number that cannot be generated by a random side. It's a big number, you cannot use that. How do we tell it? Yeah, it was it's
That?
oh, just put it in the email.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So I was like,
The number just yeah.
yeah.
just use the
See what he's got highlighted? That's what I'm working on.
yeah. So put it the break. I have that. Yeah, that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it outside the loop, right?
I
It
think.
should be. Yeah.
Oh, this is.
Maybe I have the same issue. I haven't even done this one.
Yeah, it doesn't say break. This says break HR. Yeah.
Oh. Let me make sure this is. Oh, it's not even. This is not the.
That's cheating.
Is it? Let me make sure.
I was gonna say I was looking at that. I was like, it's gonna be like
Oh.
50-digit lottery number.
Yeah. Let's run this one and see what happens. Oh.
Oh my god, I'm crazy!
I'm
not crazy.
Excellent. How do you solve this?
I don't know.
So what? Well, Michael got it right. Michael, how did you do it?
So get some live code, Michael. So we know the problem now, right? So how do we solve it? So what sticks out here?
I was like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's constantly adding 9, 18, 27, and so forth. So based on what you see in the code here, what looks out of place? So, all right. So in the for loop, right, we generate a random number, and then we concatenate it to lottery number, right? Because it's a string. So after we get 9 digits, then we set whatever random number is to prepend whatever. So as we finish click, as click finishes, what is lotto number? No.
Yeah. It's not.
It's not.
Because it is outside.
Yes, because we declared a variable outside of click. Scope. That's the answer. So what do you need to do? Yes.
So as Nick was pointing out, this was declared outside. All right. So it never gets refreshed or back to this state. Every time when we are done with this, we want it to go back to an empty string.
So if you refresh the page, then lotto number becomes now instead, right? Because it's code removes. But if you just keep clicking, it's just going to get bigger and bigger.
Right, right.
Yeah, I'm about to refresh.
I'm more focused on my core. So instead of declaring I just have lotto number equals lotto number plus math dot floor.
Yeah. Yep. It just
It's
the
not
position.
all in one line.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's I mean that's if you're worried about like space. And
Yeah.
stuff like that. Space can
No,
cause
it just made more sense to me. I'm just like instead of
Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah. So instead of
Basically put those two together.
so instead of having this, this would take the place of it. So you can put all this on one line. This is just easier to do, and it's for the sake of simplicity. This is why we show you how to do it this way first. This code can get pretty messy when you put everything on one line. It makes it ridiculously hard to debug sometimes.
Is that what you? I don't even. Well, no. This is jQuery. This is for next week. The homework for JavaScript is in this exercise.
It's fine. But when you have like
Oh,
when this
this is for our next week.
It's just low in your eyelid.
Oh, yeah. Look at the JavaScript exercise. You can those you can use. The JavaScript should be
Yeah, no wrap.
yeah, you can use those.
You say we can. The JavaScript that needs.
Oh no, this is valid for the next week. Next to yeah, no, yeah. You guys have plenty to worry right now. Yeah. Look at the previous exercise. Yeah. All right. I'll show you the last more difficult exercise. But you don't have to complete it. Take a look at it. Go home. Try to solve it on your own. I'll pose a solution, and that is kind of gets you even more closer to your jQuery homework whenever we get there. Okay. Yeah. So it's still a little bit far as well. It's still not this homework. This homework is for previous exercises. So let's quickly take a look what the last one is. The last one is always like a stretch, but it's just there so that you guys can do it, look at it for your homework. All right, let's see. This is called number checker.
Very fast. I swear.
All right, this is definitely even more trickier. See if you can guess the number that the computer is thinking of. Nope.
That's what we're supposed to be doing the first class. I got this.
Come on, I haven't even guessed. Yes.
Is this the assignment you're talking about?
No, this is the next exercise. Yeah, this is the next level exercise. Give it a try right now. How far you can get? It's only 5 minutes left. If you want to stay, but I'm going to post the solution tomorrow morning or tonight later on. But this is, we saw the first one, then the second one. This is the next level exercise. So what is happening over here? This time the computer is going to pick a number from 1 to 4, and you have to guess. You have to click the number you think the computer is guessing, and then if it is the right number that the computer has guessed, it's going to say yes or no. So right now I guessed wrong. I have to refresh. 4, again, the computer picked 2, so wrong. Nope. Come on. Why is this so difficult? Oh,
Save your life. There you go.
So
yes!
Daniel, just a
Yes.
quick question. Couldn't you cheat this by inspecting
Yes.
and then
Totally can.
console log?
Yep, I don't even have to hear the full answer. Yeah, you can totally. If I'm writing this code and debugging, yeah, that's what I do.
That's what, okay.
I just wanted to show everybody. Yeah. All right, so the code is. Already has the basic bootstrap. Troy, can you slack out this exercise, the number checker? So give it a try, and I'll post the solution later on. Okay. So this is the end of the class, and I'll be here on Saturday. So I'll see you guys on Saturday. Okay.